Some people don't avoid dating because they're afraid of commitment. They avoid it because every time someone asks, "Are you ready now?" it feels like they're being asked to fake a feeling that has never arrived on command. That's the part almost nobody talks about. The world treats readiness like a deadline, as if attraction is something you're supposed to schedule, as if everyone wakes up one day knowing they're finally prepared to let someone in. But for many demisexual people, readiness isn't a switch. It's trust. And trust doesn't follow calendars. It follows safety. That difference quietly changes an entire life. Because after enough people ask why you're still single, why you never seem interested, why every opportunity somehow becomes not yet, you stop wondering whether they're misunderstanding you. You start wondering if you're misunderstanding yourself, especially when everyone around you seems to fall into relationships so easily. Dating apps reward instant chemistry. Social media celebrates instant attraction. Modern dating assumes emotional availability should exist before emotional connection. But if connection is the thing your attraction depends on, the game feels impossible before it even starts. So you hesitate. Not because you don't want love, because you don't know how to begin searching for something your feelings refuse to manufacture. That hesitation slowly becomes part of your identity. People mistake it for being picky, cold, emotionally unavailable, even arrogant. But inside, something completely different is happening. You're scanning every interaction, asking yourself the same exhausting question. What if I'm leading them on without realizing it? Because you know what happens when someone develops feelings faster than you do. Pressure arrives. Expectation arrives. Deadlines arrive. Suddenly you're expected to know what you feel before your emotions have even introduced themselves. So instead of risking that situation again, you stay where it's safe, alone. Not because loneliness feels good, because guilt feels worse. Many demisexual people remember at least one relationship that started before they were emotionally ready. Maybe everyone else said it looked perfect. Maybe the other person was kind, patient, attractive. Everything that should have worked. But something inside stayed quiet. And every compliment felt heavier than comforting. Every "I miss you" became another reminder that you couldn't honestly say it back yet. You weren't trying to reject them. You were trying to catch up to feelings everyone assumed should already exist. That creates a very specific kind of shame. Not the shame of rejection. The shame of being emotionally delayed. Over time, you stop trusting your own timeline. You start comparing yourself to everyone else's. Friends fall in love after 3 dates. Co-workers announce engagements. People online joke about soulmates after exchanging a few messages. Meanwhile, you're still trying to decide whether you even feel emotionally safe enough to imagine holding someone's hand. Comparison quietly becomes self-surveillance. You begin monitoring yourself. Why didn't I feel anything? Shouldn't I have wanted that kiss? Am I broken? Am I too slow? Or am I just making excuses? Questions like these don't stay inside dating. They spread everywhere. You begin apologizing for emotions that simply move differently. Eventually, you stop saying you're demisexual altogether. Not because you've stopped identifying with it, because you're tired of explaining it. Emotional translation fatigue is real. Trying to convince people that attraction can arrive after connection instead of before it becomes exhausting. Especially when the response is always the same. So, you're just picky? No. Picky is choosing between options. This feels more like waiting for a language your heart actually understands. Modern dating rarely makes room for that language. Instead, it rewards emotional speed. Fast replies, fast chemistry, fast vulnerability, fast labels. Everything feels optimized for efficiency. But genuine emotional safety has never been efficient. It unfolds slowly, quietly, without algorithms rewarding it. And that's where another hidden fear appears. Not the fear of being alone, the fear of wasting someone else's time. So before anyone can become invested, you withdraw. You tell yourself you're protecting them. But somewhere underneath that kindness is another painful belief. I probably won't feel what they need me to feel. That thought becomes an emotional prison. You stop meeting new people. You stop saying yes to dates. You convince yourself you're simply waiting for the right moment. Months become years. Not because you chose isolation, because uncertainty slowly became your comfort zone. Then something strange happens. You begin craving connection more deeply than ever. Not romance. Connection. Conversations that don't require pretending. Friendships where silence isn't awkward. People who stay long enough for your nervous system to stop preparing for disappointment. Because beneath the hesitation isn't emotional emptiness. It's emotional caution. A survival mechanism built from experiences where moving too quickly ended with confusion. Every rushed relationship teaches your brain the same lesson. Slow down. Protect yourself. Don't promise emotions before they've become real. Eventually that protection becomes automatic. Someone flirts. You overthink. Someone compliments you. You question their expectations. Someone asks you out. Your first feeling isn't excitement. It's responsibility. Responsibility to avoid hurting them. Responsibility to avoid disappointing them. Responsibility to avoid becoming another story about someone who couldn't commit. That's emotionally exhausting, especially because very few people ever see it. From the outside, it looks like indecision. Inside, it's constant emotional calculation. You're not deciding whether they're attractive. You're wondering whether your future feelings will betray their present hope. That's an impossible prediction. So your safest answer becomes no answer at all. And yet, many demisexual people secretly carry enormous romantic imaginations. Not because they're unrealistic, because emotional intimacy means everything to them. They don't dream about perfect first dates. They dream about feeling completely understood, being able to relax, being chosen without pressure, being known before being expected. That's the contradiction. People assume you fear intimacy. In reality, you often value intimacy so deeply that casual connection feels emotionally incomplete. The world mistakes slowness for absence. But slow emotions are still emotions. They simply refuse to perform on command. And that's becoming increasingly difficult in a culture built around immediate emotional accessibility. Today, people can message hundreds of strangers in a week. They can collect attention instantly. They can create attraction through carefully edited versions of themselves. But emotional safety still can't be mass-produced. It still grows through consistency, presence, patience, the very things modern dating often rushes past. That's why many demisexual people don't feel ready. Not because love scares them, because performance does. Pretending excitement, pretending certainty, pretending attraction before trust exists. That performance slowly disconnects people from themselves. Until one day they stop asking, "When will I be ready?" and start asking a different question. What kind of connection would actually let me become ready? That question changes everything. Because readiness isn't always something you build alone. Sometimes it's something another person's patience quietly makes possible. Not through pressure. Not through persuasion. Simply through emotional consistency. The kind that asks for honesty instead of deadlines. The kind that allows uncertainty without treating it like failure. Maybe that's why so many demisexual people feel invisible. Not because nobody notices them. Because so few people recognize the pace at which they feel safe enough to truly arrive. And when that pace is constantly judged, you begin judging it too, quietly, until you forget that your timeline was never wrong. Only different. The deepest human desire isn't to fall in love quickly. It's to feel emotionally safe enough that love doesn't require pretending. For some people, that safety arrives in weeks. For others, it takes much longer. Neither timeline makes the feeling less real. The tragedy is that many never discover this because they spend years believing they have to become faster instead of becoming understood. And perhaps that's the hidden psychology no one says out loud. Some demisexual people don't feel unready because they're incapable of love. They feel unready because the world keeps asking them to prove feelings before those feelings have had the chance to exist. That isn't emotional failure. It's the quiet cost of living in a culture that mistakes speed for sincerity. And somewhere, someone listening to this has spent years believing they were the problem, when maybe they were simply waiting for a kind of connection that finally felt safe enough to call love.